semi-final Grand Prix going to run under the lights tomorrow night, 6:30. We've got a big field of some of the very, very best. I would just say not even under 25 riders, some of the very best in the world. We've seen them in the mix in major Grand Prix right throughout circuit and right around the world. And this single round of competition will set the qualification order for tomorrow night's semi-final Grand Prix. It is Florida Coast Equipment Week here, Week 8. We'll talk a little bit about them, but let's introduce our class sponsor, BrainJuice, the #1 natural daily brain supplement. Proud partner and major sponsor of Wellington International. You can find BrainJuice products around the showgrounds, at the concessions, or online at brainjuice.me and use discount code WEF for 20% off your purchase. So Jake Endicott is our first to go, riding for Ilan Ferder here. Great owner to have in your corner. Jake with Game Over, a new Kato bred. Jumps that big bright green BrainJuice fence mid-ring here. Of course, has been designed once again by the partnership of Steve Stevens and Nick Granat. And again, it won't be vastly different here for the U25s to what we saw earlier on in the Adequan WEF Challenge. You know, we've got a competition that is the major contributor to the starting order for the Grand Prix. Now, these guys, this is their welcome. They didn't get to run yesterday, so they've got the open water as an option down there. Rail over today, so they're not being judged on width. It is knockable, but that is because in their semi-final Grand Prix tomorrow night, we will have the open water, just like we'll have for the Nations Cup and the Nations Cup Grand Prix. Have the Pan American Games yellow viaducts in play once again. We move the Duta a little bit up the ring. Same materials, those horizontal striped rails. And there we are, just a single rail down in 74 for Jake and Game Over. Will that be Game Over? Well, probably not. We've got quite a few places available in the Grand Prix and 4 faults in a decent time. 75 seconds the time allowed, so just about half a second inside. But we'll see how it plays out and what that actually means in the wider look of the BrainJuice U25 welcome. Jake Endicott first to go with 4 faults in 74.58. Yeah, we are standing by, just waiting for Ariana Marnell to keep our class ticking along here, with the 1 round faults and time being the deciding factor. Might not get too many people offering to come up. They would, I think, be keen as mustard to try and get a good result in this, go on then to a good result in the Grand Prix. Actually, just hearing that they're going to adjust the time allowed, and it goes out to 78 seconds, having seen Jake Endicott go that close into the originally posted 75 seconds time allowed. So 78 seconds. Again, it's a speed class. They don't really want time penalties to come into play and be decisive. If anyone's going significantly slower, of course they should incur time penalties, but they want people to be comfortable riding, able to deliver their performance within the time allowed without having to worry about it too much if they are genuinely moving on. They clearly felt that Jake Endicott was moving on and deserved to be a little bit more than half a second inside the time allowed. So Ariana and Jikakara already third in the Under-25 Grand Prix on the BrainJuice Series during week 2 of circuit. Riding for Alison Firestone LLC. This grey by Denzel van het Meulenhof. beautiful materials out here in the WEF ring. You see that filler there onto that, a little bit like one of those walls like we had in the 5-star Grand Prix with the narrower base. And this line, when it was the WEF double up to Farm Vet, now it's Farm Vet double down to WEF, was quite influential later on in the course. Ariana just gets the elbows out there, just feels she needs to push a tiny bit. They have the option here, big vertical or oxo, one of two places they have the option on course. And of course, jumping the BrainJuice, she elects not to take the water today, but will have to face it in the semi-final Grand Prix, which she is cruising towards a place in here at the moment. I would suspect that we're not going to get more clears than we have places in the Grand Prix. Ariana Marnell and Jika Kara setting a little bit more competitive time, 71.46 against the original time allowed, but I don't think the judges will be too disappointed to have just taken the time pressure off these guys and let the course, and they'll have discussed that with the designers as well, with Steve Stevens, Nick Granat, and decided that the course is going to do its job. It is a welcome. There's not significantly more athletes entered in this class than there are places in the Grand Prix anyway. So some will have, a bad day at the office, and some, for instance, might have huge problems with the water in this scenario, which might make them feel, well, I'm not going to go in the semi-final Grand Prix then because I've got to jump that as an open water under lights as well. Ashley Miles, like a lot of our riders, a graduate of the North American Youth Championships held for the last few years up at Traverse City. Conroe by Capocassione. Ashley, an owner rider here in our U25 ranks. So 1 on 0, 1 on 4 so far. Yeah, Ashley's just really closed down the canter there, a couple of strides away from that jump. They ended up having to make quite a big effort over it out of the pace she had set. You just see the horse there looking a little bit more for the head. Clearly there's a balancing act to be done here because Ashley is closing down the horse. It's making the jumping a little bit difficult, but by the same token you get the sense maybe that she does just need to keep the horse within a bracket, because if he's allowed to get too far forward, it just becomes maybe a little bit heavy in her hand and doesn't allow him to hold him back off the jumps. So he's doing a good job delivering here, but if the time allowed had stayed at 75, they could have been in trouble. 78. Oh, 78 could still be trouble here. Ashley Miles and Conroe, 1 to go. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Yep, it is going to be time penalties. 79.05 will be 2 of them there for Ashley and Conroe. So a clear, a 2, a 4 out of our first 3 contenders in the BrainJuice U25 welcome. So, not long since we saw this rider riding for Grand Prix qualification in the Nations Cup 4-star Tour. Already been a top 5 in the Senior Grand Prix circuit here at WEF. That was during 4-star Week 4. Ansgar Holtgers Jr. Ansgar with Gut Einhaus's Lemmy van den Biskop by Milord Carthago. You just see Ansgar kind of working hard off his seat and legs here, because actually it's a little horse for him, but just working hard to keep the little stallion in front of his body and engaging with the course. A couple of times there, 3 to 4, the horse is just falling back a tiny bit. So he's not going to go for the open water. And this is a mix and match here, because you have to then really dictate your own distance, because the distances are set up well for water to vertical or from BrainJuice to Oxa. And what we've actually seen from people jumping the BrainJuice is that they've wanted to go up to the vertical, so they therefore have to really massage and make that distance happen between those two jumps. Ansgar here is going to be clear. The time a little bit slower than Ariana Marnell, 74.14. Ansgar Holtgers Jr. into second place with only our second clear round. Campbell Brown and KMD Vray, former North American Youth Championships gold medalist Campbell with MMK Equestrian's entry. Quite a big square jump, that BrainJuice, and whilst, you know, across the BrainJuice tour, these riders and horses are going to see it quite frequently, it still really fills the eye. It's an unusual colour in the materials we tend to get week after week anywhere in the sport, not just on circuit. Just lifts the hand with the stick as a little bit of a reminder there to just keep the horse going forward, because it's quite a high apron on the water here today, and it's very bright blue. So once the horse starts to see it, you will inevitably get that little bit of backing off. And that's not something Campbell wants to start, you know, sneaking into their performance, their way of going. So Campbell and KMD Vray are clear, and they are pleased by the extension of the time allowed, because their time of 77 seconds is going to stay inside the time, and they become clear round number 3, going into third. Canadian entry Cassidy Rein next on our list. Looks like they're just walking in onto the Rolex Bridge. Cassidy with her family, Rein Family LLC, is Dialatine Jump. Cassidy jumping a lot of the 2-stars on the global champions over the last year. Had a good result in the 2-star Grand Prix, for instance, in London at the Royal Hospital, Chelsea. Cassidy, who took that 2-star Grand Prix last spring on Miami Beach as part of the Global Champions. And the Young Rider Grand Prix winner during the Global Future Champions at Valkenswaard last year. That's a week there at the Tops International Arena that brings in the best children junior young rider horses. Oh, Cassidy just saw quite the long one there. She'd picked up a lot of pace. She was between 2 spots. She decided to just go off the eye on the slightly longer one. And it's just made Diabaletine a little bit hesitant now. Get back in their groove here at the cost of a rail, but jumping a tiny bit more fluently. And Cassidy just pulls away from that one. We'll see whether it's going to be retirement, having not got off to a superb start yet. The hand just going up there. So Cassidy and Diabaletine jump, unfortunately, will retire on... Oh, no. Could have sworn I saw the hand go up. So, not going to complete their round. Cassidy Rein and Diabaletine. With our leading clear is Ariana Marnell early in the ring. Ariana clear in 71.46. Another entry for Ilan Further Stables. This is Karime Perez Nunez for Mexico. Karime with New Star van der Berghoven. So 3 clears so far. 1 further clear with time faults. I imagine with the field of U25 riders we have with us here at Wellington and being 8 weeks into the circuit as well, is probably one of the most difficult classes to set from the designer's point of view. You saw Karime as well, a decent amount of that quite rustic fence. Now that's always quite interesting how something that's, you know, those browns and terracotta colours jumps in comparison to the bright rails. It's something more akin to what you might find in the Hunter rings. And you take the likes of the Rolex Series Grand Prix at Piazza di Siena in Rome, has a lot of those very natural coloured jumps in the materials there. And they really do get a result from these horses that are so used to the bright look. On the clear, you see the water tray there under the Florida Coast Equipment, our week-long presenting sponsor. Just taps away at that back rail going through the viaduct, yellow double. So that's a 4-faulter, 75.33 for Karime and New Star van der Berghoven, and goes into 6th position. We were on the start list due to have Haley Royce. I'm 90% sure I saw her horse out in the warm-up as well when she was course walking, so maybe Haley will be along. We're being told Hallie Grimes is going to be our next on the list. We get her graphic while we stand by for her to join us in the ring. As I say, with just over 50 on the start list, there are 50 places available in the U25 semi-final Grand Prix here on Friday night. Under the lights, first horse at 6:30. And worth a good result in this class as well, because the start list is a direct reverse of the result of this welcome for the BrainJuice U25 semi-final Grand Prix. Hallie Grimes with the Can We Keep It LLC's Cassachessa PS, the Casalco-bred mare from the German stud books for Hallie. It's the PS suffix with the breeding at Paul Schockemöller's Lewitz. you're going to the water like he was, up to the Bainbridge vertical, still on the 0 score. Late doublers caught a couple out in this class. And so that line, you know, we've got exactly the same distance, Kubota now with the water tray underneath it, from Florida Coast Equipment around to the yellow double as we had earlier on in the WEF Challenge. Ty will have 2 for time, 79.08, having jumped clear over the fences. 2 for time there for Cash Girl Ty Simpson. Now for the Netherlands, Milan Morssinkhof and VDL Quick-Targo. Quickly to Crescare is the sire here of this one. The VDL, of course, the WEF Sport Horse Auction in partnership with VDL. The auction actually tonight. The viewing day here on venue was Tuesday of week 7, and then the auction actually tonight will be conducted by the renowned commentator and breeding expert Frederick de Backer here, and going to be part of our streaming offer here today during week 8 as well. Milan VDL Quick-Targo on the 0 so far, just really being turned up and down the ring over these first few jumps coming to the Adequan. So same position as it was when it was the last, pretty much, on the Adequan WEF Challenge. Now Steve and Nick have done a nice job making these two courses very different, but you can see some of the same lines, some of the same distances being used, and that's absolutely appropriate as well, because this class is doing exactly the same job. It is going to, out of a single round of show jumping, select and shape the Grand Prix for this division. As we were saying, 50 athletes go forward to the Grand Prix. As I say, I haven't quite counted up, but I do think we actually only have 50 or fewer riders in this class. So as long as everyone completes, they get to go through to the Grand Prix. But the other thing is that the Grand Prix starting order will be reverse order of this competition. So whoever wins this welcome, and Tom Watchman out in the front at the moment, they will end up going last in the initial round of the Grand Prix. So Milan is clear and goes into 6th position on the ranking. Quite a few clear rounds here in comparison to the Adequan WEF Challenge a little earlier. So riding her U25 series horse, Horizon Van Het Shake. They were 3rd together in the U25 during WEF 4. And class winners here on the 4-star tour yesterday morning. Zayna Rizvi, Flying Z LLC's Horizon Van Het Shake by Zorocco Blue. Still on the 0 score so far for Zayna. Horizon Van Het Shake. So Zayna taking up that 4th position, 72.72 the time taken there for Zayna and Horizon van Het Sheikh, one of the most successful U25 partnerships throughout circuit. Deliver another clear round and put themselves in a good starting position potentially for our BrainJuice U25 semi-final Grand Prix. Nora Nauss, Nora and Dorchester next to go. Karen Bar-de-Meuse, a little bit better known as Glocks London, and sire, as we mentioned, of the 5-star Grand Prix winner, including the now Rolex Series Grand Prix of Dublin, Z7 Ipswich. So Nora Nauss riding for Andrew Wells LLC here with Dorchester. So Nora on the 0. She takes on the BrainJuice vertical alternative, and you see that ends up putting in a little bit of a wiggle up to the Bainbridge vertical. She's the first to be really caught out, having done the mix and match there, and unfortunately takes the front rail off the Florida Coast equipment immediately after 2. So those 2 down in quick succession. Actually, it's 3 down in all for Nora and Dorchester for 12 faults and 70.69. Down into 16th on our ranking so far, out of, I think, 18 shown in our BrainJuice U25 welcome. $10,000 in the prize fund of this class, which will set the scene for our semi-final BrainJuice U25 Grand Prix. That's a 6:30 p.m. class tomorrow night. Big night for classes under the lights here, Nations Cup week, with last night's Under Lights welcome. VDL auction, WEF Sport Horse auction tonight, and then it is BrainJuice on Friday night, and of course Saturday from 4:30 onwards in competition alone. You'll join Stephen Wild earlier from that for the pre-show. It is Florida Coast Equipment Nations Cup going on through the sunset and into the dark of the night here on the lights for the 9 nations contesting the Florida Coast Equipment Nations Cup. So Clara Propp and Highway, already a podium finisher in under-25 Grand Prix action this circuit, riding for Aquitaine Equine here with the Casal-bred Highway. Clara, who's been part of the Youth Nations Cup finals team for the United States of America, and Kaczynski, with those development and youth teams over the last few years, done a great job as well, helping develop some of the future of US show jumping and giving them the exposure to those team competitions over in Europe. At the slightly lower level, there's that series of 3-star Grand Prix for adult riders, and the commitment of the US team to going to those Youth Nations Cup finals the last few seasons as well has really paid dividends. I think if we look through some of the riders then who have donned their pink coat for the likes here of the Wellington 4-star Grand Prix and Nations Cup, other Nations Cups leading up to the absolute big gun 5-stars, we'll see more and more of them as time goes by have been graduates of the experience gained going to the Youth Nations Cup finals in Europe. Clara Propp, Highway, going to be the farm vet down there at the beginning of that line. She swings around the bottom of the ring ready for the open water, and then balances up. She just opened up the taps a tiny bit at the water, so it takes a nice balancing spot in her riding up to the Bainbridge vertical. So 2 down in all there for Clara, the 2024 individual gold medalist at North American Juniors, the under-18. Clara and Highway scoring 8 today at 76.11 on the clock. Ireland's Daniel Kerins and Malu Blue PS next to go. Still on the 0 score for the career Grand Prix winner. Ridden some Youth Nations Cups for Ireland as well. Just 19 years old. Daniel. Malu Blue PS going the right way. Very, very economic there in terms of his line. Right over in the corner of the Florida Coast equipment, shortening the distance as much as it's possible down to the yellow fence. 69.74 to beat for Countryman Top Watchman. It's going to be a tiny bit behind. No, it's not. 69.50. Daniel Kerins and Malu Blue going into the lead there. Gotham Enterprises entry, Malu Blue PS for Daniel Kerins. So an entry now for Ariel Grange. This is Canadian young talent William Martin and Amalia by Arezzo VDL. Again, a nice little bit of shape put on that first fence, thinking already about the line, the approach being direct up to the big BrainJuice Oxen mid-ring at number 2. And not just about the line, but also William picking up a decent pace, staying very, very rhythmic and regular in that pace. Clears the Adequan. And again, we've got this line in reverse from the Farm Vet to the Adequan. The Farm Vet becomes the double of verticals here in our under-25 welcome. Amalia just takes them perhaps a little bit more forward down the line there. Wasn't quite sure which way they were going to go. Maybe they went too, because they just get really involved and all over that BrainJuice vertical. William can do little more than just open the hand and let Amalia just kind of scuttle over to the right and then balance just in front of that Bainbridge vertical. But unfortunately, the control, the balance, the relationship between the pair just came a little bit wayward. And just something about that turn back to the BrainJuice, actually, vertical. They just didn't really seem to have clear in their mind what their plan was. And I think Amalia just felt for a second being pointed at the big peach standard between the water and the BrainJuice there, where the number 8 physically is. And that maybe just lost a tiny bit of confidence. So 8-4, 71-32 as we go on to Charlotte Murray. Charlotte owns and rides Magnum Z, the messenger bred. So Charlotte just turning back to the Adequan past the in-gate here, the famous Rolex Bridge, the International Arena at Wellington. Just a couple getting caught out by that relationship there from the Adequan down to the Farm Vet. Now there's a double of verticals as well, just needing that little bit of respect and balance. Can they hold it to just the 4 faults? Remember, reverse starting order based on the results of this class for the U25 semi-final Grand Prix. And at the moment, the best 9 places taken up with clears. 8 faults, though. It's going to be a little bit further down the order, unfortunately, for Charlotte Murray and Magnum in terms of starting in the Grand Prix. Time penalties, too. This is a relatively expensive round. 8 for jumping, 6 for time. So that is going to be 14 in all for Charlotte Murray and Magnum. Ella Johnson, Next Star LH, ESJ Equestrians entry here by the the Nick Skelton ridden Arco. Both parts of the Farm Vet down again. Seen plenty having that first part down, and not unusual in the double verticals that both might come down. A lot of the riders, though, have just gotten there a little bit between 2 places over the A element. They've been able to just make the correction coming to the B element. Going to be 12 in all then for Ella Johnson and Next Star LH, with the 2 down inside the Farm Vet double of verticals and 1 further fence down for Next Star LH and Ella. So still just 9 clear rounds with Sligo rider Daniel Kerins leading the way with Malu Blue PS on 69.5. Carlee McCutcheon is our next to go. Ireland Blue. Carlee riding for Anne C. Thompson here with the Chaco Blue bred Ireland Blue. Carlee and Ireland Blue actually runners-up in the 2-star Grand Prix during WEF 4. Carlee, individual and team gold medalist at the juniors, the under-18 championships up at Traverse City in 2023. Carlee's still on the clear at the moment. Remember how neat Daniel Kerins was, though, at that Florida Coast equipment fence, right over to the right-hand side, and then made a brilliant distance for himself through that yellow double. Carlee here going to be clear. The time, 75.14, goes into 8th position, and we're up to 10 clear rounds now in our BrainJuice U25 welcome. Remember, 50 places for the semi-final Grand Prix here tomorrow night under the lights with the open water in play, all available from this competition. So in reality, it's about finishing, but also the starting order of the Grand Prix based on the results of this competition. So being right there in the mix, Carlee McCutcheon and Albelo, hoping to go in the last section of the draw for the Grand Prix. Mia Albelo and MHS Cardenta, a Cardento bred, no surprise there for Mia owns and rides. Mia carrying the forward, just jumps the open water. See her taking the real balancing, checking stride up to this big vertical at the end of the line, having had that big forward jump in over the water itself. Again, just maybe not on the truest of strides up there. You saw Cardenta just needed to paddle the air a little bit, having taken off. Maybe just felt a tiny bit too far away from the front rail of the Florida Coast equipment, and then part of the yellow double down as well. So 12 faults in all for Mia and MHS Cardenta. Casalvano now the ride for Ava Fisherman. Ava, the Casal Silvana bred from the Holsteiner stud book. Of course, Casal, one of the absolute flag bearers for Holsteiner performance sport horses. So many great accolades with Rolf Joran Bengtsson, but who could forget the day they put their marker down and said that they were going to retire whatever happened after the Grand Prix in Hamburg, and they went out on the win. So still 10 of our riders delivering clear rounds. We're quite close to the midway here of our BrainJuice U25 welcome. Just a handful left to see before we'll let the Florida Coast Equipment Kubotas into the international ring. Ava takes the option today of schooling the water. It's quite good this, because of the Nations Cup they have today's Adequan WEF Challenge to qualify for the Grand Prix. They have other classes. In the U25s, they only have this welcome. So last night and yesterday morning, when we had the 4-star welcome, a lot of them were in. They jumped a couple of jumps, then scooted around to just jump the water, and that was them done and dusted. They did a bit of a pick your own line. Whereas today, our U25s are locked into delivering against the whole round, because they have to qualify for the Grand Prix out of this one and only other class. 76 on the clock means it's our 10th best of what is now 11 clear rounds there for Ava Fisherman and Castlevano. Call Me Back Ponton and Paige Mattis. Paige owns and rides this one, bred by the Solfrod César Milord Cartago. Paige still on the 0 score, going to bring home another clear round here, potentially just the Duty Corporation to go. Time 78.83. It's going to be 1 for time, unfortunately, for Paige and Call Me Back Ponton. So we'll go behind our clear rounds. We've actually got 2 on 2 for time as well, which will go one further place back, Ashley Miles and Ty Simpson. So 14 riders have jumped clear all the fences, 3 of them at the cost of time faults. Most recently, Paige Mattis there as we go on. Isabelle Emon are next to go. Dara du Soleil for double ELLC. Dara du Soleil by Cannon. Isabelle just turning. Makes, a little bit much of the water, but then sits up and rides very, very well up to the vertical. And, the distance is set there at this level by Steve and Nick, our designers, because they do want to give the riders the chance to make the adjustment. If their horse really needs to be ridden very, very positively at the water, if their horse has a tendency to rush and jump quite flat at the water, jump quite far beyond the water, it's then the riders have the space to make the correction and deliver a clear over the vertical, which follows. So Isabelle with just the one down, Dara de Soleil in 73.24, 16th on the ranking with those 4 faults. So Frano Derwin, not surprisingly, he's actually Irish. I don't know why we've got Germany on the graphic there. We'll keep an eye on that for the Grand Prix. Frano with Oakland Training and Sales, Mendoza VDL. Riding with Derek Kenny's Oakland operation and had a very, very good U25 circuit with them at the Geneva Indoor Horse Show. Geneva, of course, part of that Rolex Grand Slam series as well. Frano, quite the youth and pony winning machine back home in Ireland, and then subsequently since becoming one of the young professionals of the sport. Now, 69.50 for Sligo man Dan Kerins, and it is going to be a little bit slower, 71.51. It will go into 4th. 3 of the top 4 places there for Ireland, with Ariana Marnell sitting 3rd, Frano Derwin in 4th, Tom Watchman 2nd, Daniel Kerins in the lead with Malu Blue PS. So I think this is the last we'll see before the break, and it's going to be Hallie Grimes. Hallie for the 2nd time, having jumped clear earlier on with Cassidy. Hallie, the current leader of the BrainJuice U25 Grand Prix Series on series long standings. All right, it's another Shokamola bred here. This is Chicato Diablo Blanco. Big striding horse, has beautiful stride to this horse. A really, really attractive looking way of going. She's going out quite wide and deep on her circles. They're certainly within themselves in terms of the sort of pace I think they could set as a partnership. I just wonder whether Hallie is being a little bit tactical here and just looking more for the clear than to take on some of the very, very fastest, because of course the standings, the BrainJuice U25 standings, will be affected by the Grand Prix, not by today's welcome class. Hallie takes the 2 options there. Very few have come up to the big Oxer. Again, horizontal striped rails as well on that Bainbridge fence, so it is not easy. Big square fence as well, coming up off the related distance as it was for her from the BrainJuice Peach fence. Yeah, Hallie's going to get time penalties here. 78 seconds was the adjusted time allowed. Chicato PS is clear for jumping, and 6 for time. And of course, Hallie right in the qualification mix with Cassidy PS, with a clear earlier on, sitting 8th best at the moment. That's 21st though there for Hallie this time around. But as I say, that is also going to be a contributory factor to. We feel that everyone who completes this competition, every rider, will have a place in the Grand Prix, the BrainJuice U25 semi-final Grand Prix, 6:30 tomorrow night here in the International Ring. Hallie Grimes and Chikato taking us up to the drag break, which is a second ride for Hallie, one of several who we're going to see twice over. Okay, Ansgar Holtgers Jr. will be back with us. We'll have Tom Watchman back one more time. Just looking, I think we've got one or two others who we're going to see twice over. Tony Stormans we haven't seen yet, but we will see him for a second time. Cassidy Rein we'll see for a second time as well at the end of the draw with Val de Vauxhall. So all to play for. Our thanks so much to BrainJuice, the #1 natural daily brain supplement, a proud partner and major sponsor of Wellington International. You can find their products here at Wellington International through the concessions or at brainjuice.me. And if you are buying online, use discount code WEF for 20% off your purchase. We're going to take this very short break. We'll be back to the action to continue and conclude our BrainJuice U25 welcome from Week 8 Florida Coast Equipment of the Winter Equestrian Festival. So back to it here in our BrainJuice U25 welcome, where we have 12 clear-outs massologists. Daniel Kerins of Sligo is our leader for Ireland. Malu Blue PS 6950. Tom Watchman, County Tipperary man for Ireland, in second, with I'm Here. Ariana Marnell, best of the US, in third, and Frano Derwin of Ireland is in fourth, with Haley Royce and Sherlock in fifth. Seen Hallie Grimes, the current leader of the BrainJuice U25 Grand Prix Series, slotting one in amongst the clears as well. 50 places available in tomorrow night's semi-final Grand Prix, and they'll start that Grand Prix in reverse order of merit of this competition's result. Alexander Alston gets us back underway with Alston Alliance's LLC's Cardento bred Spider. Spider and Alexander already in a U25 Grand Prix action this season, taking a top 10 finish in the U25 Grand Prix. A couple of weeks ago, mid-February, at the end of January, in the U25 competition, they were on the podium there. Another medalist, young rider, team gold and team bronze medalist. So the young rider is the under 21 level of the sport at those North American Youth Championships at Traverse City. They've been for a few years now, after a long time at Old Salem. Alexander and Spider getting a good spot down to the last. It's being a little bit punchy there, having had the rail down. They want to try and be as fast as they can make it around this course. They're actually one of the fastest four-faulters there in 72.61 and taking up 17th on the ranking. So hoping that they'll be starting after the midway drag in the initial round of the BrainJuice U25 semi-final Grand Prix tomorrow. 6:30 for the first horse in that class, if you're going to come along and join us on the live stream. Diego Lauia and Karlee VDL. Diego owns and rides this one. Karlee, again with the VDL suffix, a reminder that tonight's WEF Sport Horse Auction in partnership with VDL. You can join that on the live stream, or if you're in the area and you want to be here in the room. WEF Sport Horse Auction now in multiple years of success. Many reference graduates coming forward from the years of partnership with the VDL stud for that sport horse auction. A young rider out of Costa Rica here, Diego Lauia. Two options here. They have the vertical for the BrainJuice, and a lot of people choosing this mix and match, going from the BrainJuice vertical to the Bainbridge vertical. And potentially only one or two riders have jumped the Bainbridge Oxer. Just caught out at the last, unfortunately. 76.04 with the four faults at the last for Diego Lauia and Karlee. So the difference between being in what would have been 11th place or 21st. 10 places difference based on that single rail down for Diego and Karlee. First of two rides for Tony Stormans. Tony, who's been a big Grand Prix winner here this circuit. Tony also a Continental Youth medalist. Tony's pretty much grown up here at this circuit, riding through the ponies and low jumper divisions, junior jumper divisions. The individual winner of the under-25 during WEF 4 with Don John Dascote, and riding for HS Sportfeder, mother Helena Stormans. Of course, an incredibly well-respected coach, former Nations Cup rider. Tony was the Children on Horses individual European champion a few seasons ago. Just unlucky there. He's a tiny bit off the A element, so there was a long way to reach to that back rail for Tony and Surprise. 69.74, a very, very handy time. It's actually the same time as Tom Watchman and I'm Here, who sits second. But with Tony's rail down, it is going to be the fastest 4-faulter and go into 16. So again, 15 places the cost of the rail there for Tony Stormans. UK Arena Saravia with Alpine Stables LLC's Cantosano for Guatemala. Another Casal bred in our BrainJuice U25 starting list. And still, it is 12 clear rounds. No clears since we took that drag break a couple of horses ago. Sedokeen and Cantosano going to take the water up to vertical line as it is built, rather than mix and matching between the two. Carrying the 4, and time wise they're going to be plus 70 seconds. They shouldn't be plus the time allowed of 78. And the last goes as well, so unfortunately 8-4, 77.51, just inside the time. 28th position though for Guatemalan rider looking at Arena Saravia. Well, this is our final live stream class today from the International Arena. We will rejoin the action tomorrow morning. Of course, we stream every class, but I'll be joining you for commentary at 10:30 tomorrow morning for our Dodd Technologies class, part of the 4-Star Nations Cup Tour. Dodd Technologies are presenting our live stream throughout circuit. They're industry leaders in creative design and technology support services for sports, entertainment, corporate and special events. You can find out more at doddtechnologies.com. Mary Rose Canterbury and Delido 8 taking up the challenge now of our BrainJuice U25 Welcome. 5C Ranch and Minerals LLC, the owners of this Holsteiner bred by Dinkin. Two down then for Mary Rose Canterbury on the way around. It's 27th position so far, so probably going to be starting in the first half of the draw when it comes to Grand Prix action here tomorrow night. 6:30 start for the BrainJuice semi-final Grand Prix. Maya Dennis on next to go. Maya is a bit of a winning machine for Mexico. Owns and rides this entry Calypso de la Amente. Actually won the evening four-star welcome class last night. It was a Nations Cup rider here 12 months ago for Mexico. She's an individual for Mexico in the four-star tour this year. Time to beat Daniel Kerins is 69.50. So very rarely I've been to a show that Maya's been competing at where she hasn't taken a victory. Just feels the horse backing off ever so slightly for her on the water, just lays the whip alongside the flank. That little bit of reminder. And over the time, 69.50 to beat. She's done it. 68.87. Maya Dennis for Mexico goes into the lead so far. And remember, that is going to translate to a good starting position tomorrow in the semi-final Grand Prix for the BrainJuice U25 series also. So Maya Dennis becomes the one to beat. Calypso de la Amente and 68.87. Well, Neve Makoy is our next to go. Neve for Ireland with Greg Broderick's Bloodstock and Sales Internationals, GBS Internationals, BP Swifty. Irish Sport Horse by Amaretto Darko. Again, we've seen Neve throughout the top circuit here as well as having the opportunity to ride still in the U25. Neve, who's an World Young Horse Championships gold medalist for Ireland last year at Lanarken. Swifty third in the welcome a couple of weeks ago during WEF 5. It's actually WEF 6 week that they took that podium in the U25 welcome. One minute a lap, still on the clear. 68.87 is the time to beat. Neve's not going to be quite there in this welcome, but should post our latest clear round and just over 70 seconds. 70.78 is going to put Neve Makoy for Ireland into fourth. And that is now 4 for Ireland inside the top 6. On we go then to Elena Hass. Elena owns and rides this entry. Ogue BT Special. Irish Sport Horse by I'm Special Demuse. Then it is ridden to the 5-star level of the sport, did so up at the Spruce Meadows Summer Series last year, and has jumped, as we said, some of those development Senior Nations Cups in Europe with Ann Kaczynski. Saw Elena jump in the Lugano 5-star Grand Prix here last Saturday night. Just caught out at the last, not the first, not the last. 69.78. Let's again do the math. It would have been fourth with the clear, and it is 19th with the rail. So 15 places on the order, the cost of a single rail here as things develop in the BrainJuice U25 Welcome. Elena Hass and Og BT Special. A little bit further down the order than they might have hoped for. Pacey round, unlucky at the last. Had they been clear, they certainly would have been expecting to go in the final 10 or dozen in the first round of the BrainJuice Grand Prix. Lola Head on course. Lola here with Shelly-Ann de Blondel by Non-Stop. The US rider, owner rider here in our BrainJuice Welcome. Unfortunately, the 4 faults means that the best they can hope for is 18th position, were they to be the fastest 4-faulter. As we say, in the main, a rail, when it comes to time, has cost about 15 places, but on paper, were you to be fast enough actually for the victory, it would cost a minimum of 18 places. Lola Head, Shelly-Ann de Blondel. It is just going to be that one down. It's quite a slow time in the overall look of the thing. 76.99, so 26th position for Lola and Shelly-Ann de Blondel. Second ride now for William Martin of Canada, Per Total de Resnova by Comme il faut for Leslie Martin. William had the ride for Ariel Grange with Amalia a little bit earlier on. Putting 2 down on the board on that occasion. If he can score a clear here, he'll give himself a better starting order for the BrainJuice Grand Prix.
Is a waste of time.
William absolutely flying here towards the last, bringing in the 0 score with Pet Total. And 76.28. So it is so close. A clear there on 76 goes into 13th position. 68.87 for Maya Dennis leads the way for Mexico, with Daniel Kerins down into second, Tom Watchman down into third. Another entry for Guatemala in our BrainJuice U25 series is Christian Hacker. Christian with CSH Equine Limited's Cocaine de Riverland. So riding up the line to the Bainbridge Vertical, Christian Hacker still on the 0 score. Plenty, though, have come undone in this final serial of the course over the Kubota, the Florida. Florida Coast Equipment sponsored fence over the Duta. It is all good. It's 76 on the clock for them too, 76.74. That gives us yet another clear round. We're starting to really build those up now. We get Guatemala on the board, and that is 14th best, as we said, of what is now 16 clear rounds. On we go. Lea Keranov next on course here for the USA. Lea owns and rides Sally 721. Lea carrying the 4. Another rider who is seen top the circuit, go on usually one more week to Global's Miami, not running this year. With a nice place for a lot of the 2-star riders to go and enjoy that at the end of their 12-week circuit here at WEF. Lea Keranov and Sally 721. It is 2 down, 8 falls, 73.10 on the clock. So second ride now for Ansgar Holtgers Jr. Ansgar already with a clear inside the top 10 with Lemmy van der Bisschop. This time riding Chaploon for Good Einhaus LLC. Chaco Blue bred. Chaco Blue, of course, sire of so many incredible horses. It seems sometimes like every single international show jumper in Mexico is a Chaco Blue, but not least the Tokyo Olympic champion Explosion for Ben Mayo is a fantastic Chaco Blue horse. Ansgar riding a nice balanced, steady pace there down to the big Wef Oxer. Very, very deliberate here about his plan to come up to the BrainJuice, and I assume that's because, yeah, he wants to swing across here to the Bainbridge Vertical. Yeah, clear everything at the cost of 13 for time, taking it very, very steady there with Chaploon. Ansgar Holtgers Jr., though, as I say, will still get that good starting draw in the BrainJuice U25 semi-final Grand Prix, thanks to the clear earlier on inside the time with Lemmy van der Bisschop. Nicole Vasco Magana. Nicole Vasco owning and riding Daddy's Destiny, a Comme il faut. Nicole Vasco taking the option, the BrainJuice Vertical rather than the water. Of course, they do have to take all the water. There'll be no choice in it come Friday night and the BrainJuice U25 semi-final Grand Prix. Just almost jumped out of the tack there over the yellow fence, but they stay in place. This is going to be fast. Maya Dennis is previous leader 68.87 for Mexico, and now Nicole Vasco Magana and Daddy's Destiny go fast to 66.53 to take up the lead and give us one further clear round, a total now of 17 of them. With the 17 clear rounds and those who are clear with time faults, it means that a rail now costs you a minimum of 20 places. Again, a consistent rider in the senior and U25 tour. Had a very, very good run of classes during Five-Star World Cup week in Central Florida just recently as well. Nina Malvet of France with the Rein family's My Clementine by OBOS Quality. So Nina Malvé and my Clementine going into our top 10 with a clear round there for the French rider, the 5-star Grand Prix podium finish in Nina Malvé. Ana Sophia Rodriguez is another for Guatemala. There's enough Guatemalans in the under-25 tour that if they'd all be showing in the 4-star, we'd have had a Guatemalan team in Nations Cup. Ana Sophia with Rodriguez equestrians, Il était une fois rêveru. And Sophia takes on the BrainJuice alternative to the open water, and you see here making a big shape, being very deliberate about their approach up to the Bainbridge, and that gets it right for them. At the cost, perhaps, of being that little bit slower than some of those absolutely flying rounds, like Nicole Velasco and Maya Dennis. Yeah, already at 73, 74 seconds here, jumping through the yellow fence. So we're going to be into time, 78 seconds, the time allowed. Ana Sophia Rodriguez will join. Yeah, no, it's actually going to be worse than clear with time, because it now will go behind all of the 4 falters, because those who had a rail inside the time will be better than her with 4 for time because of 81.57 on the clock. So Ana Sophia Rodriguez quite far down the order there with those 4 time falls, 31st on the ranking. So Tom Watchman, who was our leader for a good while, is back for a second time. Tom's still inside the top 5 with I'm Here, 69.74. This time, Tom, with Coolmore Show Jumping's Galway. Galway by Gemini. Gemini, the sire and the dam sire, H&M Chili Willy. Very good horse for the Philipparts twins back in the day. So nice tactical round there. Jumping clear, Tom picks up 6 for time, so he'll find himself further down the order, but of course has that good starting draw based on I'm Here's result. Virginia's Virginia Bonney, riding Nina Bonney's F for Dare. Nina Bonney, of course, one of the original trustees of the Kentucky Horse Park, the main thoroughfare through the horse park, named after Nina. And the whole Bonney family, Shelby Bonney, one of the directors of the Upperville Colton Horse Show, America's oldest horse show. Virginia and Effadia Can they join the ranks of the clears inside the time? 18 of them so far. Just get into trouble there in the double of verticals, and unfortunately, Effadia grinding to a halt. Virginia did a very, very good job, bit of stickability there to sit into it, not come out of the plate. Remember, quite important to finish here, whilst there's not really a restriction on numbers in the Grand Prix based on the starting numbers in the welcome. You do need to finish to get your qualification. So Virginia, Effadia, not far from home now. 4 jumping efforts. Of course, with the stop, that's all the time faults. They haven't actually had a rail. The stop is the 4 faults, and that starts to put you into the time too. Virginia and Effadia, 1 to go. They'll start early in the Grand Prix, but they do complete their round and get their place in the BrainJuice semi-final Grand Prix. Virginia Bonney and Effadia, 8 for jumping, 19 for time. Well, the Youth Equestrian Games gold medalist Mimi Gottschman, Selena B.H. Mimi again has jumped 5-star with us here across circuit as well. Gottschman Sport Horses LLC, Selena B.H. Bike and Starko. What is Mimi's tactic today in terms of where she'd like to place herself on this welcome ranking and therefore the start list of the Grand Prix? Is she hunting down those Mexican times, 66 and 68? Or is she just looking for the clear a little bit steadier? But not too much steadier. I do reckon she still probably wants to start in the last 10 or 8 of the initial round of that Grand Prix. Takes the BrainJuice option rather than the open water, and that by its nature is probably going to make you that little bit quicker. 60 seconds here, so 66.53 is off the cards. Sub 70 may be possible. Mimi and Selena B.H. 70.15 and 5th place for Mimi Gottschman and Selena B.H. That, I would say, is executing her and her trainer's plan to the fraction. Splitting up Neve Makoy and Tom Watchman on the ranking. Daniel Kerins in 3rd. Maya Dennis 2nd. Nicole Vasco Magana and Daddy's Destiny, our leaders for Mexico. 66.53. Emily Dehoff, Manu Deuse next to go. Sporty Game LLC's Manu Deuse for Emily. Another one by Arco. Emily and Manu Deuse, part of the gold medal winning team. Young riders last year, the North American Youth Championships. Manu Deuse, top 5 in one of our early under-25 Grand Prix in the series back in January. And 3rd in the under 25 team competition. Of course, the individual rankings of that coming through as well, but part of the third place team. So first actually in a while it seems to have some jumping penalties, 4 of them for Emily, and 75-47 goes 30th on our ranking. Taylor Corley, Corlencia BC, as we get towards the end of the draw here in our BrainJuice U25 welcome. 19 best starting places so far taken up by clear rounds. And that's the starting place for tomorrow night's BrainJuice semi-final U25 Grand Prix. Double of verticals, Farm Vet B element down there for Taylor and Corlencia. And a rail is super expensive. The best then you can hope for with a 4 faults is to be faster than Tony Stormans and Surprise and take up 23rd position. Rail starting to become very, very expensive indeed in terms of that starting position for day 2 of the series after today's welcome, the Grand Prix tomorrow night. Second rail down, unfortunately, for Taylor. So time penalties coming into play as well. 12 for jumping, 1 for time for Taylor Corley and Corlencia. Isabelle Cox, ZG Bella. RL Quality show the sire here of Bella, riding for 5 Roosters. Of course, 5 Roosters with an entry and an interest in the Nations Cup as well through Tiffany Foster's ride for Nations Cup action. Tiffany's ride, Electrique, will actually go as trailblazer for the Canadian team. Isabelle ZG Bella jumping the water, going up to the Bainbridge vertical on the straight related distance. 66.53 is going to be a little bit beyond their reach. They've got to be probably a little bit careful about 78 seconds time allowed. As it is, it's the Florida Coast Equipment Kubota fence down in the corner. Are they going to be able to keep it to just 4 faults? We are going to get time here. It is 2 for time, 4 for jumping, 2 for time then for Isabelle Cox and ZG Bella. Tim Brennan, Diadema della Caccia for Tim, and he is off and flying here. So 66.53. Let's keep an eye on that leading time for Nicole Vasco Magana. Is Tim Brennan going to give himself the best possible draw for the Grand Prix, the semi-final Grand Prix here tomorrow night? And of course, the lion's share of the prize fund on offer here in our BrainJuice U25 welcome as well. Going the right way about it now. He's going to go to the open water. This is, I think, a shade slower. I'm not sure you can quite catch those Mexican girls if you go to the water. Tim might be about to prove me wrong, though. Diamantesemi, the breed here, but this Diadema della Caccia, no surprise, from the Italian Sport Horse stud book. 66.53 to beat. Not going to be quite there. Tim Brennan, Diadema della Caccia. 0 score and 68.08. It's good enough for second place. He just pips Maya Dennis for second. So Tim Brennan into second, and the Irish young riders here looking down the top 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the top 10 are for Ireland, 2 for Mexico, and USA then with the other 3 spots. Sterling Malnick. Sterling owns and rides Cap du Marais by Cannon. We've got yet another clear round there a moment ago, so we have a grand total of 20 of them. So the best 20 starting places of a 50-strong Grand Prix going to be going to riders who've delivered a clear round in this competition. Very, very strong U25 tour here at Wellington. And of course, this just semi-final week with the finals week to come later on in circuit. So Sterling Malnick, unfortunately, with the late rail down. So 4 falls, 77.55 with Cap du Marais. Remember, that's 78 seconds time allowed, so just sneaking inside that for 34th on the ranking. 4 falls. Well, Stella Buckingham goes next. We saw Stella actually jumping well with us during the course of circuit last week during Lugano week 7. That was in some of the national jumper circuit and the 2-star. Stella here with O'Neill Show Jumping LLC's Clocky Boo of Greenhill Z. Just thinking forward all the way here, Stella Buckingham. Some very, very fast times have been set. You have to say Mimi Gotchman came in and delivered a very, very tactical round a short while ago to go into what is now 6th. It was 5th at the time. lot of people just having problems out of that long corner, swinging around the palm tree decoration. 180-degree roll back then to the Florida Coast Equipment Kubota fence. Stella Buckingham and Clocky Boo of Green Hill. It's going to be 8 faults in all, 74.08, just outside the top 40 for Stella and Clocky Boo of Green Hill. I'd say 3 more to start. And say I'm 99% sure we have fewer than 50 riders in this welcome, and therefore everyone gets a place in the U25 semi-final Grand Prix. Teddy Pritzker and Jayavanta C getting towards the end of the draw here. We've still got second ride for Tony Stormans, second ride for Cassidy Rein. So coming through the Pan American Games viaduct double with the 4 faults, Teddy Pritzker, Jayavanta C on the way to the last. It's down as well for 8 faults there and 76.19 on the clock. So 46 on the ranking with a couple of double rides just in front of them on that ranking as well. So we had 56 starters so far. Here we go on to Tony Stormans, Donjon d'Ascot. This was the horse that Tony won the individual ranking of the under-25 team competition during WEF 4. Donjon by Vigo Cheche. Tony and Donjon going to take the option here, jumping the BrainJuice vertical, cutting across to the Bainbridge vertical. A little bit like Tom Watchman as well. You get the sense that he's not going all out for the time on this one. He maybe just been looking for quite the steady clear. Be interesting as well to see which of his horses he chooses for the Grand Prix itself. Donjon having been successful so far on this tour. And 2 for time, then it comes up as for Tony and Donjon. So that goes into 24th position on the ranking. Ty Sibbs, Ashley Miles on the same score. Paige Mattis and Call Me Back Ponton clear for jumping with 1 for time. And then there are 20 clear rounds. Cassidy Rein and Val de Vauxhall last to go. Cassidy for her family's Rein Family LLC with the Vavite bred Val de Vauxhall. And actually, this is a pretty important round because Cassidy did not complete earlier on and needs, therefore, to complete to qualify. in and out of the farm vet doublet verticals, coming on down to this related distance, and Cassidy will be thinking about executing her plan now for her next choice. We saw somebody get in a lot of problems here, just the one, but not really having clearly either thought through and delivered or communicated to their horse what their plan was. Cassidy gets it dead right up to the BrainJuice vertical, the peach-coloured vertical, the bright green oxer there in the middle of the ring fence too. Two very, very striking fences in the BrainJuice colours. And this could join the ranks of the clears. The time is going to be okay. Just don't let it go at the last. We've seen a few just pick up the rail at the last. And unfortunately, the front rail off the last for Cassidy Rein, Val de Vauxhall. 78.87. I was wrong about the time as well. 4 for jumping, 1 for time for Cassidy. 37th on the rank. And that'll mean that she's in relatively early, 12th or 13th in the starting order for the BrainJuice U25 semi-final Grand Prix. It's 6:30 tomorrow night for that class. 10:30 tomorrow morning for the Dodd Technologies 4-star meter 40 classic, a one-round table A speed. Of course, the Grand Prix tomorrow night is going to be a jump-off for the U25 riders. Those are our two classes with live stream commentary from the International Arena here at Wellington tomorrow, as we continue our Florida Coast Equipment Week 8, where the feature is team versus team, nation versus nation on Saturday night in the Nations Cup of Wellington. 9 teams going head-to-head, with the first rounder jumping at 4:30, then 7:30. We bring back the best 8 teams, and it is a second round over the same course. And then if we have equality, we will go to jump-off. There have been some incredible jump-offs here in the past. Most recently, 2019, Daniel Coyle versus McLean Ward, with the United States getting the nod. BZ Madden's been involved in jump-offs here in Bahas for the win as well. BZ Madden has been the Nations Cup Grand Prix winner here during the course of Florida Coast Week 8 at WEF as well. We've got awards for our BrainJuice Welcome coming up, and that will conclude our day in the International Arena. As I say, so much to look forward to. And don't forget, live stream tonight, the WEF Sport Horse Auction, partnered with VDL Stud. In terms of our U25, it's going to be a victory for Mexico. Nicole Vasco Magana and Daddy's Destiny victorious in 66.53. Tim Brennan for Ireland, a very close second, just splitting up the two young Mexican riders, Maya Dennis and Calypso de la Amente, third. Malu Blue PS and Daniel Kerins, fourth for Ireland. Fifth for Ireland, Tom Watchman and I'm Here. Then it was Selena BH, Mimi Gotchman, Neve Makoy for Ireland, BP Swifty, Ariana Marnell, Jik Kakara, Mendoza VDL and Frano Derwin for Ireland, ninth. And rounding out the top 10, Haley Royce and Sherlock 46. The best 10, led by the Mexican winner of what ended up being 20 clear rounds over the track set by Steve Stevens and Nick Renat here today. Hallie Grimes, current leader after the first 7 weeks of the BrainJuice U25 rankings here at Winter Equestrian Festival. It'll change again tomorrow, no doubt, based on the results of our semi-final Grand Prix in the BrainJuice Under-25 series. And congratulations to today's winner for Mexico of the Welcome. And, of course, with the win, the lion's share of $10,000 and the final starting position in the initial round of the semi-final Grand Prix here tomorrow night. Under the lights at the Winter Equestrian Festival, 6:30. Do join us then.